massacring millions and millions of innocent people or locking up half of West Africa and transporting them to be slaves was bad, John. I mean, I don't
think that, that's the way the world was. You can't say that's the way people operated.
So you don't think slavery is bad?
That's the way the world was. It was, you can't judge it from these. That's the way the world was. That's the way people operated.
Were the Nazis bad?
Pardon?
Were the Nazis bad?
No, it's just the way the world was.
So you're not comfortable saying the Nazis. You're not comfortable saying a genocide of 6 million people is bad.
I think it's just the way the world was. You can't say it's good or bad.
You can't say genocide is bad.
No, you cannot say the way the world was.
John,
hundreds of years ago. Right. That's the way it was.
All right, so beating up your wife, is that bad? Because that was legal in this country till quite recently.
Else. We're talking about...
Your argument is if it happened in the past, it can't be bad. And I'm saying I think that's completely bonkers.
For what Britain did. The benefits they got out of the country. Right. I mean, a lot of them got great benefits from it.
Is hanging gay people bad?
No, you're just trying to twist it around.
I'm not twisting anything. Your point is that's just how the world is. And I'm pointing to you that, we used to live in a world where if I don't want to repeat it because it's actually quite sort of, it's so horrific. But just because it happened in the past, it doesn't mean...
It's just the way the world was.
John, you keep saying that. But
slavery was part of the way the world was.
All right.
People getting rich. I mean, it's just the same today. People want to get advantage. It's
not the same today, though, is it?
Pardon? Yeah, well,
why do you think we can't look back and make moral judgments about things just because they happened in the past?
Because the world's moved on. I mean... what happened hundreds of years ago doesn't affect anybody today directly in their day-to-day life.
But it does, John. That's the point,
trying to blame slavery or colonies
that's where you're wrong,
is absurd.
That's where you're so wrong, because John, let me finish. There are people in this country who are still multi-millionaire landowners because they had that wealth passed down that was accrued initially because their great-great-grandfathers were slave traders. There are people in this country who still have very little because they inherited nothing from their ancestors because their ancestors were slaves. So when you say it doesn't have any impact on the world today, you're wrong. Part of the reason that Britain is so much wealthier than somewhere like Ghana, to take one example, big hub of the slave trade, or all of the Caribbean, is because of the slavery. So
what wealth in this country? The country's in chaos. I mean, we've got prime ministers changing because we can't fund a lot of our services
We'll go and live in the Congo.
So how can you go on about our wealth?
Right, John, where's
the wealth gone?
Go and live in the Congo and then come back.
Where is the wealth?
And then tell me...
John! Well, look, we're not talking about the Congo. We're talking about the UK.
Yeah, it's convenient, isn't it? Go and live in most of sub-Saharan Africa and come back and tell me which country you think is wealthier.
I mean, the world... John, people look after themselves.
People look after themselves, not if they're locked up and transported across the Atlantic on British slave ships.
Services. We don't have a lot of wealth in this country anymore.
Yes, we do, John, compared to most countries.
Any people that got wealth from slavery, there's only a very few people. I mean, most people, their day-to-day life isn't affected.
Our entire economy was based around slavery. The reason we have the 6th biggest economy in the world is in no small part because of our role as a leading slaving nation. Not that long ago. That's before you get to all the wealth that we extracted from places like India and the Caribbean, because we subjugated those people and invaded their lands, John.
No, that's a long time ago.
It's not.
We're not super wealthy. Some people
it's
are.
Half a century,
but
man.
That's from recent wealth. I mean, people who inherited wealth from slavery are very few people.
It's not. We're going around in circles here. The country that we live in.
Yeah, but you're latched onto this colonial nonsense. That is really important.
Yes, it is important.
It's not.
Why not?
This is
because you don't actually think it was. Ultimately, what we come back to is you don't actually think it was wrong, John. That's why you don't think it was important, because you don't think that going and colonising and brutally repressing and murdering and pillaging and raping our way across the world was wrong.
What has been for thousands of years.
All right, John, stay on the line if you would. I want to bring in Anthony in Haringey, who's called in, I think, to specifically disagree with you. Hi, Anthony. Go ahead.
How you doing, mate? Love the channel. I think the whole point around the conversation, the premise of what you asked was, should this be more broadly spoken about? Should this be more broadly taught? I think the caller, I appreciate potentially it may be a generational thing, but it's just an indictment and just evidence of why we need to be doing this more and more.
What, John's call is proof for you of why we need more education about empire?
100%. I think we live in a world where social media and the access to information over the last few years has allowed people to look back in a way that we haven't done for decades, right? I think the point where, to be fair, when I was waiting on the line, I couldn't hear most of what was being said towards the end of that segment. But one thing I did catch was him essentially saying that the Nazis aren't bad. And the reason that he said the Nazis aren't bad is so that he wouldn't have to accept that the British Empire was bad, or that King Leopold in Congo was bad. We're just dancing around the subject, trying to play ping pong with the points that we're trying to make.
Well, I think he was saying, and I don't agree for what it's worth, I think he was saying you can't apply today's kind of moral judgments to things that happened long ago.
That is a valid point, and things do change over time, but the fact of the matter, there are some objective moral truths, right? We stand by and live by objective moral truths. If you look at the United Nations, for example, if you look at all of the things that are going on in the world today, and justifications that are given because of things that happened during World War II, for example. If we talk about Dresden or we talk about other areas like that, indiscriminate bombing that we've been talking about for years in Gaza, right? And I think to try and minimise the history is to try and hide behind uncomfortable truths.
Thank you, Anthony. Let's put that back to John. John, come back on that. Anthony says you're proof that we need more education about empire.
Yeah, I think that's a little naive. History is so vast and complex, you can never really teach it all in school. It's impossible. It is massive. You know, it's like if you want to talk about slavery or all the other histories involved over the centuries, it is enormous. And there is limited time in schools to teach any of these subjects.
Anthony?
It's impossible. History is
history, and history by definition is vast. The whole point is in the academic sector to have syllabus and various different degrees of study for various different areas of history, right? The whole point is that within the syllabus, if there is an integration into the syllabus of a recognition, that doesn't mean that there has to be an overt telling of history that we need to make space for. It's about making sure we're having the right conversations when we are learning areas at different points of the syllabus.
Isn't it also about, I mean, we all remember learning about Henry VIII's wives. Isn't there an argument, quite a strong one, that says empire is far more relevant for the world we live in today and tells us, you know, it's far more sort of far bigger a determiner of life today than the Tudor monarchs or even the Romans, and therefore should be more of a priority. Put that to John. John?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's limited time in school for
so prioritise empire over learning about all the Tudor monarchs and the Romans and all the rest of it.
Well, yeah, you can choose your subjects for history. I mean, obviously there's no problem with teaching issues around empire and everything, but there's very limited time, and I think it's going to have very limited effect on people.
All right. John, thank you for the call. Final word on that to Anthony and Haringey.
I think, listen, the background I come from, I'm half Moroccan, half Greek Cypriot. I've experienced what the impact of colonisation can do in my home countries. And I live in a vibrant area of North London. There's lots of different communities, and we as second-generation immigrants are very aware of our history. But I think with so much division in the country, I think there would be coming on the other side of the fence and getting an understanding from the broader masses in this country of why we are here. And then I think by doing that, you dilute the impact of people like Nigel Farage and Reform and Restore and all of this stuff.
Because there's a more of an understanding of why people want to come here in the first place.
Absolutely right. You know the saying, we are here because you were there.
Yeah, which is true, I think. Not always true. I mean, people coming from parts of the world that Britain didn't colonise, you can't necessarily make that argument, but a lot of people can. Thank you, Anthony, for your call as well. John, thank you as well. Interesting discussion, interesting debate. Wonder which side of that you found yourself agreeing more with. 03456060973 to join the conversation. You're listening to Ben Kentish here on LBC. Just gone 12:45.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Clive Bull.
With some MPs calling for tougher regulations, what should the rules be on political funding and donations? And should vapes be hidden out of sight and in plain packaging?
Clive Bull at 1. Listen on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
Get unlimited video calls with vets from First Vet with Pets in a Pickle. For pet insurance policies as unique as they are, visit petsinapickle.co.uk.
In a world full of noise and uncertainty, IG is the investment platform that backs you. Forget the dubious tips from that guy down the pub. Get real-time insights, analysis and tools. No more fat cat brokers clawing your gains. Pay zero commission on your investments. Switch to a platform trusted by British investors for over 50 years. IG. Trade, invest, progress. Your capital's at risk. Other fees may apply.
A spectacle far beyond your imagination. Be amazed. Be moved. Be there. For an experience that will stay with you forever. Disney's The Lion King at London's Lyceum Theatre. Book now at thelionking.co.uk.
A red light becomes a moment to breathe. A coffee run, a kick of momentum. A wrong turn turns into an adventure, while a song becomes your soundtrack. From the driver's seat of an LBX, even the most ordinary of days can feel that little bit extra. The award-winning Lexus LBX self-charging hybrid. Find the extraordinary in the everyday.
Ben Kentish on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
12:47 is the time. Come straight back to your calls. Lots of them coming in about empire. Do we need to be more upfront about just how shocking Britain's empire was? Or is John right to say, look, it happened long ago, nothing to do with us. We can't apply the kind of morality that we have today to things that happened 100, 200 years ago. Shane's on the line in Shoreditch this morning. Morning, Shane.
Good morning, Ben. Yes, good one that's going on here. I would just really love to put across who made the British Empire before they travelled and made the rich be able to travel and conquer the world first. Was it the indigenous people of this country who were slaves but not in name? Like, let's say, hypothetically, chimney sweepers, the little boys.